late, but here I am. Prodigezz versus Eonito for the World Cup Championship. Alright, so looking at matchup, no ground into Magnemite's pretty bad, so Eonito has a pretty good mon there. Now you still have to be worried if opponents have, but you have options for that. You have Marionette, you have Trace Porygon. Eonito seems like, oh, good claim with coughing because that opens up the coup. Comes in. You have to be a bit scared of Garuki because you have Marionette as opposed to having a coughing like on Prod's side. But overall, it should be fine. I have this on should. What is that name? That's a good switch in though. Because you know from before it's not. Yep, alright, good. But you know from before that's not Life Orb, so you can take this in pretty comfortably. You have your Regenerated Core. Alright, yeah, stall out the Grassy Terrain turns. Your chance in crits though, and that can be really yikes. Good Slip Bomb. Good Poison. Yeah, then Eonito can go out to Mean Foo here. There's no real big issue. I'll probably do another video on the entirety of this replay, but even on matchup, Eonito's doing really well because, assumably if it's a Scarf Magnemite in the back, you would want to run Trace Porygon, and you know that, because it probably came out earlier, but more defensive, so you can run Magnemite as a more offensive set. Ponyta can still win for Prod, but I think it's highly unlikely, because Mean Foo doesn't have its Eviolite knocked. Porygon Trace is still very healthy, so it's going to be hard to make left progress versus that Porygon. And like even then, you're already having a hard stop versus Marionette, and that's one of your 3 knockoff users. Kind of bad for Prod, all things considered. I don't think losing... Oh, you don't have to lose it. You could go to Magnemite here and then claim... That's fine too, yeah. Set up a substitute, do something like that. That's probably Inner Focus Life Orb, right? Because it only reveals the Life Orb if you take the recoil. But... pretty good position by Eonito. Does he want to substitute here? Probably. It's a bit of a rough situation because this Aber can use substitute, but then if Fuku was really aggressive in U-turn, then you lose the possible advantage. And that's really sketch. We'll have to see how this goes, but also having Pawniard doesn't get a pretty special wall is a bit yikes versus Abra, because Abra likes running Drain Punch and stuff like that. Or Fire Punch. Wasn't a bad middle ground option. It covers both the Ruby staying in and the Pawniard switch. Good idea. But Staryu switch in for Prod is a good idea as well, because that means that now Eonito has to sell in offensive pressure as much, because they're both speed tied, and both of them can kill the other, but does Eonito really want to risk the possible really good Abra into the rest of the team, because it outspeeds and KOs Foo, Grookey, Pawniard has a hard time pitching in because of the aforementioned Fire Punch. It can also be 4 attacks, so it's Drain Punch, Fire Punch. You never know. And then if you substitute here, then it's not too big of a deal. Going to Pawniard, alright. Good switch, good switch. So, Porygon coming in on Pawniard's kind of bad for Eonito, but that's pretty good for Prod, because that means you can knock off the Porygon, possibly set up a Ponyta end game. But we'll have to see where this is going. I think that you always want to... I see always, but the issue with Eonito, with knocking here from Prod's side is just if you go into Mean Foo on the knock, then you've gotten very little progress. Drillbur, alright. Also a good idea. The main thing that Drillbur likes doing is switching into Coughing's poison type moves, and since Coughing's no longer there and you can threaten a KO, that's pretty alright, but I'm not sure. The main reason for that is because Pawniard also gets Sucker Punch. You can set up rocks here, and you get guaranteed rocks. And then Staryu has to try and switch in and deal with that. And even if Drillbur goes down, you don't need it for much else afterwards, so it's all A-okay. I think that's a pretty good position from Eonito. let's say theoretically that you set Rock with Drillbur, and then Prod predicts that, or even if Prod doesn't, tries to Sucker Punch here, that means that you just get Rocks up and you get momentum back, you get a Foo, and then Prod's gonna have a hard time dealing with it because there's no fight check left. And then even if Prod goes into Star, you'd be like knocked off. I think that's pretty good middle ground, right? Because you get a fake out. Oh, also the yes. All right, so that's a really good play from Prod. So Drillbur sets up Rocks. So Prodigezz, understanding that, doesn't go for the stuff, goes for Mean Foo. And what's annoying for Eonito is that his poison's also gone. So that means that Prod's Mean Foo is opened up. The issue then is still okay. So if I claim this Drillbur kill, that means that Eonito can go into Abra really safely. Yeah, it's fine, you just sort of take that, but yeah, you just go Abra, and then it's once again a 50-50. Do you go Poniard? Do you let Mean Foo down? Like, let Mean Foo go down? There's also the possibility of Scarf Mean Foo here, and that can be really yikes for Eonito, but I'm going to assume that by high jump kicking, it's not, because I feel like if you would want to do that, no, because you probably don't feel like it's not, but... And also it covers the Scarf Magnemite. Yeah, so high jump kick there is always the first play. What do you go for here? Psychic, alright. So that's why it's 50-50, and even then, yep, it's 4 attacks. Alright, so that was the issue. So, the reason why that happened is because Poniard wants to knock off into the possible substitute from Abra. Alright, now this is a 50-50 of whether... I'm pretty sure Eonito still has this, because now that Poniard's gone, there is no check to Scarf Magnemite. But to explain that interaction a little bit more, Poniard is hoping for substitute from Abra, so to deny that substitute, you knock off into the opposing Abra, but because it's for attacked Abra, assumedly, it could be Psychic Fire Punch, String Punch substitute, you never know. But because this can just bop you with a Drain Punch behind substitute, and you want to deny the substitute, then interesting interaction. Thunder Wave, paralyzing the Mean Foo is pretty good. Yeah, you get some good chip on that. Oh, high jump kick miss. You hate to see it, but that's just how things are. I don't think Prod was winning this after the T-Wave, because then you have a really limited counterplay to Magnemite. I'm not sure how much this interaction matters. Like, yeah, you kill the Porygon, but then Mean Foo comes in. So it's over-explaining that everything. But the final thing is just, this can bop you behind sub, so to deny the sub, you go into knock off the Poniard, possibly bluff Scarf. And that's also that way you don't get really uber rolled by Abra. And it's not a bad play, because if you lose the speed tie with Abra or Staryu, and then Grookey straight up can't come in. Forcing the speed tie here, interesting. We do a counter effect here. And then we do SS, and we go Ponyta, Prodigezz Attacker versus Abra, Lightborb. Flame Charge does not kill from this range, that's probably why. Just went for Flare Blitz anyway. That should be fine, right? Because even if you're Berry Juice Magnemite, which I don't think that you are in this situation, you can still kill Ponyta. Like, you always go Magnemite here, regardless if you're Berry Juice or Scarf. You run Sturdy Juice if you're running Berry Juice. So you take hits really well. But because you have no hazards up, you can always Volt Switch here, go into Mean Foo, and that's always fine, because at worst, Grookey comes in, and then you get a free switch with what, Staryu? Staryu can't handle Scarf Magnemite. Or actually, hold on. Staryu can't here. Magnemite, Choice Scarf versus Ponyta. Volt Switch does not KO from this range. It's a very juice proc. Got really close, though. Get a Thunderbolt did, and then we're going to be alright. Yeah. But then Magnemite should just come in and clean. Because regardless of if you're Berry Juice or Choice Scarf, then you just win. Yeah, your Choice Scarf, you just win. Grookey comes in. Yeah. I think that just going for Mean Foo there was a bit safer, get more chip on Ponyta, because it has to No, it's probably less safe. I feel like you should have just gone Magnemite and just Thunderbolt it. Maybe you didn't want to hit the range of the deck. No, Thunderbolt has a few rolls that don't kill. So, just to be on the safer side, you got some more chip. Although that's probably not fake out food, which is odd. Because if you got the fake out, then you're always gold. You do not explain body, so you probably don't want to chance that. Overall, game 1 goes to Eric. Let's see. Game 2. So, Prod is using double fight resist with Larvesta. That's kind of interesting. I think that Prod has got a pretty alright matchup here, right? You do have to be wary of Diglett from Eric's side, but the main issue that Eonito's going to run into is that his rocker is assumedly going to be Pharisee. And the reason why that's an issue is because Prod has Natsu on the other side, and that means it's going to be really hard to get rocks up consistently, and not to mention you also have Timber that has defog for whatever reason. But because of that, it's going to be kind of hard to break over, like really limit the Larvesta because you have both Natsu as well as defog Timber to get rid of rocks. There's also no Pawniard on Eonito's side, but I'm concerned about using this much of Drillbur this early, especially when you also do have your 2 fight resists. It feels like why not just go to those? Probably a Scarf Larvesta from the likes of it, but you could still go into Marion and take these hits kind of well, and then you still preserve your defog related. Do you care for that? Not too much. The fake out play from Miku was fine-ish. I feel like you might have been better off if he does not. Yeah, that's kind of yikes. I'm kind of surprised that Timber wins this 1v1. It has Mach Punch, and that's one of the big reasons why you like Timber. Wait, double fight? Oh, this is fight spam probably. There's probably going to be a Scarf Fu in the back. We'll see how much damage that can do because you're into double fight resist and we're Natsu. And like, they're both running double fight resist because we have Mariani and Larvesta on this side, both resist fighting, and then we have Mariani and Natsu on Eric's side. So we'll have to see. I don't think either of these are bad teams. It's just who's going to win this. And do you really want to risk this much damage on your fighting, your main fighting? Because assuming that's going to be a Scarf Fu in the back. Oh, I'm sorry. This is triple fight resist. You have Natsu. I am blind. I'm just trying to think of whether or not this is a Scarf upon you. Probably not, because you don't have your dedicated special wall. Go Larvesta here. Alright. I feel like if this is Scarf Larvesta, then everything's fine. You just U-turn, go into either your own Natsu or Pawniard. Nothing wrong with that. From Eonito's side, going Natsu there is pretty simple. You don't want to have your Miku die to a Rock Punch to possibly catch that. You go there. That's a pretty good play. And the reason for it is because Prod doesn't have anything that really outspeeds this Fu, besides your own Scarf Fu, and then you have a hard time on whether or not you're going to get progress there. I suppose what you can do is you can go Scarf Fu. That I'm kind of concerned about because it's really easy for you to just go U-turn Diglett. And that means you kind of force yourself into a bad prediction here. Knocking off Mariani is pretty good. Oh, that's actually really cool. But also Eonito's plays there is actually pretty good as well. Because what you can do is that, sack the Miku, but because you have Diglett in the back, and because this Mariani is knocked, then Diglett can just come in and clean the Mariani, and you don't have to worry about it. That does let in Larvesta, which can be concerning. Good enough from Prod's side, removing Pharisee, understanding that. Shadow Ball Natsu. So Shadow Ball Natsu is kind of very uncommon. Also, this is going much faster than I was expecting. But it's good progress versus opposing Natsu. Alright, so we'll just go a little bit. So, U-turn. Prod predicts that you're going to go Pharisee and not stay in the Fu, which is fine. Knock up the Pharisee, make it much worse later on. Although there's not going to be too much against this team anyway. But then switch to Natsu on the Natsu, and then go Shadow Ball into your opposing Natsu, which is really good. Because that means it's going to have a harder time checking Pharisee and then setting up rocks. I'm not sure how much I like the knockoff into Mariani there from the Minfu, because you still are kind of... No, I think that's kind of fine, because you want to soften up the enemy. They have 3 5 resist. There's not really all that much that you can do about it. You just sack Natu here? Yeah, that was... Okay, that's kind of fine though, right? Yeah, because then now Prod has to predict, are you going to do Substitute or Earthquake? Alright, yeah. So then Life Orb Diglett? Life Orb Diglett. But Scarf Miku comes in now. How do I feel about that trade is the question. No, I think that's pretty alright, because Natu's not going to get too much progress, and you already got a lot of value out of bonking Natu. For Mariani, you still have your own Diglett. You still have Mariani, it's going to be really hard for Prod to break over without using Natu, and you don't want to overextend on your Natu, because you still have to worry about rocks from Ferroseed, and if at any point... Aww! Very aggressive play, very nice from Eonito, because he understands that he really needs this Natu gone to set up rocks so that way he can get Larvesta really limited, as well as you being able to chip down Mariani as well, break through the core. Although this is a really sketchy turn for both players, because do you want to risk the Natu possibly getting poisoned by a Sludge Bomb as Eonito goes really aggressive? I feel like Eonito's not going to go too aggressive because Mariani is the only thing that's really stopping Mifu, Timber, and Larvesta. Good switch, I think, because it's still very aggressive. And what you can do here is... I think you almost always claim a kill with a Flare Blitz, don't you? That's still... Oh, that's actually really, really good. Prod is really on the back foot here, because this Ponyta has 1 resist in Mariani, and you also run High Horsepower and Wild Charge. Eric's doing pretty alright here, and because of the Flame Charge, it's going to be really hard to outspeed, because even Scarf Meanfu doesn't outspeed this. The special defense drop doesn't matter. This is a really good play. What are you doing there, bud? You had this advantage and you just squandered it. You can actually, that might be bulky Larvesta, right? No, Larvesta. And then we get Flame Charge. And then the crit hit, how much? 39? That was a crit. Yeah, that was a critical hit. Yeah, okay. So never mind. I thought that was gonna be a much stronger. Like, even Flare Blitz doesn't kill the Larvesta. But good play from Prod there, of having... I thought that was Scarf Larvesta. But, because Ponyta can't break over it as easily as it wants to, it's going to have a hard time really getting a lot of progress, because, well... Even staying in there would have been pretty alright for Ponyta, honestly. Because the main issue with Larvesta is that it has a really hard time getting progress on Ponyta. Do you not want to use your berry juice up this soon? It's a possibility. Wow. Is that Eviolite? Is that just double Eviolite 2? Is it just a bulky core as opposed to having Scarfers? That's confusing. So Mariani, Pokeball, and then we go to Mifu, Bulky Pivot. Scald is 28. Oh no, that's not. Okay. Because then if we look at Mifu, Scarf, Skull, yeah, okay. So that is... This is an interesting turn. Alright. Ah! He got the rocks up. That's really important. So, back to what I was saying. So it's definitely Scarf Food based on the damage roll. And you knew it anyway, but it's a concern. However, it was just past 2 turns. So you go to Mariani here, and then you have the Ferroseed. That's a little bit of an awkward 1v1, especially because of how weak your Natu is, which is really good that the Shadow Ball from the other Natu bombed this one, because then Ferroseed can get up rocks a lot more comfortably, because do you really want to risk losing your Natu? But then afterwards, Larvesta comes in on the rocks. It's still a good play, because it's a good middle ground, but you don't need Ferroseed for anything else anymore. You have to be able to get rid of rocks. You know that's not Scarf, so Ponyta can probably win this from here, right? Yeah, because you just Flame Charge here, and then I'm not sure if Prod has... No, Mariani can still deal with Ponyta. I want to say that you always Wild Charge here, proc your Berry Juice, and then you might be... No, because Timber still has Mock Punch. But this is why you preserve the berry, isn't it? That's why he didn't attack into the Larvesta earlier, despite the fact that Larvesta has a hard time making progress versus Eonito, was for this interaction. So that way, go Marrying Wall, Eonito, reduce attacker. Skull does 18. Yeah. Yeah. You don't kill, and you can't burn. So you're going to get a good amount of progress out of this. I'm thinking that Eonito's losing this, though, because Prod still has Scarf Mienfoo in the back and a really weak Marionade. Yeah, you just go Timber here, and it's all A-okay. Because you threaten a Mach Punch, and there's no good switching because Marionade's too low. You don't care too much about Rock Smash either, because you have 2 fighting types. And even with Timber out here, Eonito has a really hard time making points. But I think you can eke out a win with Marionade. It's going to be really rough, though. Do you go Mare on the possible fake out for the U-turn? He does, alright. Yep, okay. The question is, does Prod have the tools to even break over this Marionade? Because it's not neutralizing gas. It's going to be up to like 70-ish%. So does Eonito win because his Marionade walls the rest of Prod's team, and he has recover PP? I'm just going to switch out here because if Eonito does with a Flare Blitz or something, and you go to Timber, you're just going to... No, you didn't even need Timber, but Marionade's kind of more valuable because then you can at least, like, stall out the game if you need to. Oh, wait, no. What is Mienfoo's 4th move? I was thinking about that now. So if we look at Mienfoo, Choice Scarf, you can run Close Combat in your 4th slot on the recommended set. But you can also run Stone Edge. I Jump Kick Reckless, so that's going to do a lot to that Marionade. How much is that going to do? So, I'm going to Eviolate. None. Not enough. Yeah, so you just have to chance crits here. Yeah, so what is Timber running on the 4th slot? Defog. So can Timber break over this Marionade? There's a roll. Nah! That's it. That's the series. So Eric wins 2-0. You would have thought that gone a little bit longer. But no, won a pretty clean matchup because of Magnemite in Game 1. And then played really well in this game because of how good Eonito was. Really cool. Congrats to Eric, and I'll see you in the next video. If you like this one, please like, share, and subscribe. I really appreciate it.